So Adam, you have decided to make a documentary around the subject of very young women with breast cancer. Why have you decided to do this? How did this subject first become in your sphere?
Mainly because of a friend. We just reconnected after the first lockdown, and I was so surprised how her appearance is changed. And when she shared her story, I was absolutely shocked, and it just put a bug in my ear, but it's constantly nagging me to do something. At the beginning of the first lockdown, she felt a lump in her breast, and because she was scared, ran to the doctor straight ahead, and they just told her she don't have to be worried because she's too young to be anything serious. And it's probably just a case of mastitis, and without any further check, they just give her anti-inflammatory and send her away. And a couple of months later, she noticed that discoloration at the dent at the same area, so she went back and turned out stage 4 breast cancer. And after our conversation, we had more and more women with my other business who came to us to help accept their scars, so they had or have breast cancer. And when I talked with them about this subject, I realized most of them who was under 40, they had similar experience. So they just been overlooked by professionals, and I just wanted to do something more for them, to help to create a platform where they can give a voice and tell their stories, so potentially save others. And I started my research, and I came across with a charity called Copperfield. And when I talked with them, I had to realize this is much more common than I expected, and that's gave me a motivation to start and work on this project.
Why do you think that it's a subject that isn't talked about a lot?
Because in the mainstream media, as they still pushing, you can only have breast cancer if you're over a certain age, and I think the same mentality have in the medical field. So they still think you can have breast cancer if you're over 40, but you can have way earlier just because, how do I say? Because of the statistics, under 40, it's a really low number, only 4%. But it's still in the UK, it's yearly like 2,500 people. And for me, that's a huge number. And if you are in those numbers, it's 100%. Yeah.
When you were doing your research and you were meeting these young women, did they have any idea beforehand that something like this could happen to them? How aware were they of the potential situation they could be in?
Not really, because most of them, they never really heard about how they had to check and how often they had to check their breast. And they just heard the same, breast cancer is affecting really young kids or elderly people. And that's why they never really came across with the thoughts they can have breast cancer, just when it was already late.
So Beat the Sea is about spreading this awareness.
Yes.
And making people realise that actually it's a really serious problem and that young people should be aware of their own bodies.
Yeah.
How did you become aware of our protagonist? The short film focuses on a woman called Georgia. How did you find her? Can you tell us a little bit about her story?
Actually, she found me.
Did she?
Yes. I started to post more about this subject on social media. I'm planning to do a documentary, and I'm doing the research. And I just wanted to talk more and more women who had similar experience, or they were happy to talk about it. And Georgia, she saw one of my link, and she just contacted me. Hi, I'm here, and I would like to talk about you about this. And if you need any help, I'm open to share my story. And that's how I came across with Georgia. And she's absolutely brilliant and helpful.
She is. Yeah. She's lovely. How this is a subject that is quite emotional.
Yeah.
It's very powerful, and obviously there aren't always happy endings. How have you coped as a director, being right there, following these stories? How have you coped with those emotions?
So the first step, when I started to do my research, I talked more than 30 women about who have similar experience, and to heard the same similar story all over and again and again. It's bring out a lot of emotion, and a lot of times I had to take breaks, even the researching side of it. Absolutely, because in my family had a couple of accidents who family members passed away because of cancer. Not breast cancer, different type of cancer, but they bring up these emotions too.
Yeah.
And when we done the shoot with Georgia, you handled extremely well, and I just had to hide behind you when she shared her story, and I just had a little bit of tears and cries behind you.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, how you have you handled over the
I
interviews?
just cry later.
Yeah.
It would be at night time when you sit back and you've realised what you've listened to. And when we were talking to some of the family, it was just so painful. And it was, what shocked me the most was actually that Georgia was more upset about the effect it had on her friends and family than herself. And that was a real surprise for me, to think that actually she wasn't crying for herself, she was crying for everyone else. Which then made me cry, so but in a secret way.
And how did you handle it afterwards? So I know you went for a run, and how
I did, didn't I? Yeah.
To clear your mind,
Yeah.
but
It's all about. I had a very long bath. Do you know what? I let myself cry because I think it's the only way to do it. It's just you say, okay, this is really upsetting, and it's the only way that you can then come down the next day and ask the next questions and find out about them.
For the hardest part, it was the editing, when you put together the story and you had to listen the same story again and again. And when I went through the hardest parts, in Georgia's story, I had to stop like every 15 to 20 minutes, and I had to take like a 1 or 2 hour break just to clear my mind, and that was incredibly brutal, but seeing the end result is really rewarding.
How important do you think it is to have the real emotion and the really powerful, quite upsetting bits in this film? Why do you think that's important?
Because if you bring out emotion from others, that's really sit in your memory. Because if you watch a movie where they just don't really have any emotional roller coaster, you watched it, it was good, but you forget straight ahead. But if you have a little bit of emotional attachment or any happy or sad moment, is it really grab your attention and sit on your mind later on? I really wanted to put more positive part of the story and more happy things in the short version, but because it's only 15 minutes, I had to cram as much information as possible, and that's why more on a moodier side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the goal is to make a bigger film that speaks and talks of so many more women who have this story. We want to share that as well. There's been support from charities so far. Can you tell us a little bit about the charities?
Charities, they're going to help us promote the short story, and hopefully we can reach more people with them. And we had financial support with Mail Group to help the wheel running, so we can work on the short documentary, and finally we can start to work on the longer version, where we can tell the full 360 story, and we can talk with from doctors, nurses, people who went through, so we can create a more well-rounded story. Yeah.
With the shorter documentary, what are your main goals? How do you want someone to feel after they've watched it, and what do you want them to do differently?
So I definitely want to bring up emotions, because then they're focusing more on this stuff, and I just want to create awareness and spread the word how important to check themselves regularly. So if they find something, they find the early stage, so when they're going to the doctor, they can effectively start to treat really early on, because breast cancer is one of the most common cancer, and one of the easiest to treat if you got it early or catch it early.
What if that person is told, like Georgia was, like your friend was, that it was nothing to worry about? Do you want this film to instill confidence in those people to push further?
Yes.
Or to ask more questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to spread the word how important, because you know your body, you feel if something is not right, and if you feel it, just go forward, go for a second opinion or even a third opinion if you feel it's not right.
Absolutely.
And they just asked if they can do an ultrasound, and if they find something, they can send them for further investigation, because ultrasounds probably is the cheapest way to detect something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that I think this film does really beautifully. This isn't about slating any doctors or anything like that. It's about the awareness in the young person to push for something that might be rare, but to still make sure, because they might be that 1 in 400, did you say?
I don't know the type
the
of
exact statistic,
yeah.
But just in case they are that person, to push forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing, it would be amazing to open the doctor's eyes out a little bit, and to not necessarily look over younger women because they're young. So
absolutely.
So educate both sides.
And inspire as well.
And inspire.
Yeah. I have to say, Georgia's story, it made me go and get checked. And I found something. And I went to the doctor and they told me it was nothing. And I pushed for an ultrasound. Yeah, and it was nothing. However, I wouldn't have done any of that if I hadn't have met Georgia and had that weekend and spoke to her and filmed with her.
Yeah.
So that's just me, and hopefully that will then translate to hopefully everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your next stages? What do we need people to do for us? How can we fundraise to make sure that this gets made?
So right now we're going to launch this short version on YouTube at the 31st of May. And with the help of breast cancer charities, we try to promote it so we can reach more people as possible. At the same time, we're starting a crowdfunding GoFundMe page where if someone wants to give us a little bit of support or help, they can do it there. And I'm still running from investors to investors to have a meeting and potentially get private investors on board. So we have enough funding to do the full project and tell the full story. But so far, Mia Group, it was absolutely amazing. And they was the first help for us. So
perfect.
Yeah.
If you could say one sentence to a potential investor, if they just said, why should I invest in this film? What would you say to them? What's the most important thing? It's a hard question.
Hard, yeah. True, that's a good question.
Yeah. Is it more about, is it saving lives? Is it spreading awareness? Is it helping families? What is it that's the most important thing here?
All of them and above.
So we just need to find a way to put that in a sentence.
Yeah. I don't know the answer for this.
Yeah.
No. It's for me, this documentary is really a passion project. So I do everything what I can to finish it. Even if we don't get enough funding, I'm going to use my money and slowly do the documentary. Just it's going to be a longer part. But even the short one. In last July, we lost one of the women who wanted to be part of the documentary, and that was the moment when I say I had enough, and I just used my savings to be able to create at least a short version. That was the 15 minutes, because last year we tried to get funding from a lot of different people, and finally we find one guy who wanted to sponsor the full project, but he had to step back from the project before we started because he lost a lot of business because of conflict of different countries.
Oh no.
Yeah. So at the end, I just used my own money to start and kickstart the project.
Do you feel like this film will honour her and it will be there's no reason for someone's death, but her story can live on, and because of what happened, it means that hopefully many other lives can be saved.
Yes, yeah, I really hope so. And I just really want to spread the word about this issue.
Yeah.
Because do you know a charity called Copperfield?
Yeah.
And they're teaching younger women how to check themselves. And Chris had a similar issue, and that's why she started her charity. And she just passed away last week.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is right now. This is something that needs to be told right now. This story. Everyone needs to know this story now. Yeah. Perfect. So we'll all look out for the 31st of May when we can all see the short and realise that this is something that needs to be spread, crowdfunded for, and hopefully can help many people.
Yes. Yeah. And may I ask why you joined to the team?
Why I joined? Because I feel like a lot of subjects around women's health are hidden. And in my own life, it's like every time I go to the doctor, I'm surprised. I'm like, what? I didn't know that could happen. And I feel like when I was young at school, no one spoke about anything. You know, I didn't know how to check myself. No one ever told me to. No one ever taught me to. I'm in my 30s now, and Georgia taught me. You know, I haven't been taught. And I think, well, if I haven't, then that means thousands of others haven't. And you know, we barely got taught anything at school about our own bodies and about the help we could receive. And one of the biggest things was no one really told us what was normal, what to expect. And so every time something goes wrong, you're wondering, you're immediately in a bit of panic because you're thinking, is this okay? Is this not okay? I've got no idea. And so you have to learn yourself all the time. And so because I was just utterly in the dark, when you started speaking to me about this subject, I thought, well, how much do I know about this? Nothing. Oh, it's just like everything else that I've been a part of. And so straight away I thought, no, this is important. And actually, start here with breast cancer. I believe there are hundreds of things that we should talk about and raise awareness for and just make sure people understand their own bodies and also the help that they can receive, where to find the information. The fact that Georgia is so prevalent on social media, and you know, she was so happy to share her story because she wanted people to know, and that's how I feel. I feel about so many different things that I've come across myself or friends that I just feel like, no, we need to talk about this, and not just talk, shout. You know, it's things like that. So I'm with you on this. That I think I'll do whatever it takes to make sure people hear things that matter. And this matters.
What was your first reaction when you watched the short documentary?
Just utter sadness, really. I think it was the reaction of the friends as well. It was seeing how much one person meant to so many different people. And I think that was my reaction, is people, you know, think, oh, well, it's just one person. It's not. It's every single person that they're attached to. And so seeing that short film just made me realise this isn't small, it's much bigger than that. Yeah.
And what was the most surprising information?
Just how young Georgia was. Just how young Georgia was. And also how bad her situation was. You know, how bad her health had to get for the doctor to do something about it. I think that was the most surprising thing for me. Yeah. It's just alien. I can't believe that young people... I don't know. I mean, I thought it was just women in their 60s as well. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I mean, until when I see my clients and friends, I didn't even know younger women can have breast cancer, because even in Hungary, they only can. So in Hungary, you can go for a yearly checkup, but it's more likely they send you a message, or please come over 40 or 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least in Hungary you can go yearly checkup, and they really recommend you to go. Otherwise,
That's
here in the
really
UK,
good.
you don't really have this kind of.
I've never had anyone
option.
do that. No.
Yeah.
No one's ever said anything.
Yeah. On Tuesday, I talked one of the lady, and she told me in her country she went every single year, and when she was arrived, she wanted to continue the same things, and she went to the GP and why are you here? You're sick? And, no, I just want to do a checkup. And why?
No,
Why you want?
no, that doesn't get done.
No, just in private.
Yeah, exactly. Which is something that the vast majority of us can't afford. So we can't be doing that every time you think that something might be going wrong. Which is why copper feel is so important, because it's that teaching people to do it for themselves. And I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Where if people actually have the knowledge to be able to do their own checkups, then surely we're halfway there. You're not relying on a service that doesn't exist in the UK.
Yeah, and Copperfield, they're doing an amazing job because they bringing in to schools and they teaching there and creating awareness in that way. And I think that's really
Good.
important.
I'm really glad things have changed since I was at school.
Yeah, but still, a couple of days ago when we went out to St. James Park and Green Park and talk with a young woman, maybe 2 of them said they learned this about in school, but when they was 10, so they just absolutely forget it, because you don't really want to focus on these kind of things when you're 10, and it would be much more important when you are like 16, 14-ish.
Yeah.
Because in 10 you had so many things in your mind, you just absolutely forget afterwards. So
Yeah, well, I don't remember anything from when I was 10.
you see?
Maybe I was taught when I was 10 and I don't know. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. But at least have charities like this who's pushing this agenda, and they're doing absolutely brilliant job.
Yeah, and that's the sort of thing this film can help.
Yeah.
Is that realization, and hope. Also, parents. If parents see that film, who can then speak to their children
And teach their
and
children.
teach. Yeah.
But because probably a lot of adults, they don't really know how to check themselves. So
That's a really good point. I'll ask my mum. I don't think she would have. Very much doubt she ever would have done that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll find out. Yeah.